I mean, the facts are he had a serious injury, missed a lot of time. There's still some uncertainty that with any injury like that at this point. So move the void so it gives us more options, more flexibility as it pertains to him. And, we just got to make a good decision. But we hopefully can come to a agreement with him because Chris means the world to this organization, to all of us individually, but as an organization as a whole. I mean, nobody has been more resilient than him. We've been down this road before, a similar path with him. So nobody's been more resilient and worked harder than him. So those are the good things. And, if I were a bet man, I would bet on Chris. But, still the facts are we have to weigh through some variables here.
Hello, Bucs fans. Welcome back to Real Bucs Talk. As you heard Jason Licht there talking about Chris Godwin and, obviously discussing, their opinion of him and what they think of him. And, obviously they're going to try to get him re-signed. But welcome into the show. Hope you guys are having a great Monday. It's good to be back here live with you all. And it's been a minute since Mark and I have been here. So it's good to chat, Buccaneers football with you all, and be sure to bring your questions. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you're brand new here. We welcome everyone. So it's good to be back. And Mark, started off with you. How you feeling? How are you getting prepared for this offseason that obviously is going to be crazy?
Yeah, it gets crazier like every year, not just for the Bucs, but for like the whole NFL drama show in itself, right? Like even the trade that just recently happened with the Commanders, like getting Deebo Samuel for like nothing, right? And Bud Campbell's, woo, for you. Yeah, but just think about it. Like this was a guy that was a number one option, a guy that, once the ball's in his hands, he can make something with it. A lot of people are saying he has weight issues. He does frequently get injured ever since college. It's like an injury almost every year, it seems like, but he's a damn guy that can make something happen. And you've seen so many edge rushers, which we've been talking about, supposedly in the open market, in the trade market at least. Now Harold Landry adds to that mix, right?
Right.
Add him to the Trey Hendrickson, Myles Garrett, potentially Max Crosby. But there's a whole lot of things where everyone's like, oh, it ain't going to happen. But then things like this happen, like snap of a finger, right? Even the DK Metcalf kind of trade windows, right? Like it's like crazy how there's so many little things that could happen and then they just splash. Okay, yep, it did. So I'm excited about it. Jason Light even alluded to that during some of the things we're going to get to. But it's going to be a wild ride. I think the Bucs always have a plan in place. They set themselves up every year to find that player in the draft that they truly wanted. I said this in prior live streams, and it's let's see. It starts with free agency, right? Do they go after someone? Do they trade for someone? And we're going to go over those nuggets, I guess, here today.
Yeah, so like you said, a lot going on, a lot of movement already in the process. We saw Eagles cutting Darius Slay, as Steven mentions, so that happened. Again, kind of expected. He's getting towards the later part of his career, 34 years old, and they are trying to save on the cap and create cap space, and probably rework his deal. I would imagine he probably comes back with the Eagles. We saw Deebo Samuel get traded, like you talked about, and going to Washington. It's a good fit for Washington. What they do, they run a lot of screens, etc. A lot of quick passing game. That's going to help out Jaden Daniels. But you heard Jason Light talk about Chris Godwin and T. Higgins for the Bengals got the franchise tag. So it makes Chris Godwin the best, most likely receiver to hit free agency. So it just, I agree with what Jason said. They have to weigh certain variables. They have to see how he's coming along with the injury and see, what type of numbers is going to work best for the Bucs and Chris. So I think that's what they're working through. I think both sides want to be a Buccaneer, obviously. It's kind of similar to how Mike Evans shaped out last year. And I kind of see it happening the same way. They're going to find a way to get this done. I know a lot of things on social media today were saying, oh, well, now we're in the market for Chris Godwin. We're going to get him. We're going to find a way to get him away from Tampa Bay. But when you listen to all the local media, we've been big proponents of it as well. Like, there's no reason for Chris Godwin to go elsewhere. I think this is the best spot for him. I think he would be really looking forward to work in this offense, continuing with Josh Grizzard and obviously Mike Evans and Baker Mayfield for sure.
And I mean, you can't argue that. I mean, he's been a guy that's been huge in the community as well, very invested in the actual Bucs fan base in itself. And he's like even Jason Licht said, if there's a betting man, you're going to bet on him to get through this injury. He's a hard worker, dedicated,
Right.
like literally all about ball. And these are the guys you want to keep on your team, right? Yes, he had 2 injuries right at contract years. It sucks, but this one wasn't as bad as the ACL tear. So in that respect, I can see him coming back pretty quickly once training camp starts around. Yeah, everyone's worried about the injury with contracts. That's a funny world, right? It's run by money. So, but the consistency once he is healthy and on the field, right? It's almost like the 1,000-yard a season kind of thing. And then he was leading every category before he got hurt. There's 7 games. I remember in fantasy football, like 5 weeks after he'd already been hurt, he was still like in the lead in some of these damn categories. You're like, how the hell did he have that good of a season? And yeah, the only one that you would be suspicious about is Liam Cohen and the way the shiesty Jaguars, the crap they do to kind of throw money at him, hopefully get him over there. We'll see. But I think the winning mentality here, the continuity in this locker room, the brotherhood that they have in this locker room, that's something that good players understand and want to win. You stay with that. You don't go with a team that hasn't figured out how to win just yet and is going to count on you too much. I think you want to stay with a winner, and both sides will likely get it done. But yeah, like there's always question marks of injuries and contract negotiations. But I think it's going to be, like you said, like the Mike Evans situation last year when people were like, oh no, we're going to lose him. It's really the tactics, right?
Yeah, for sure. Like you got to play that negotiation game. And I mean, Chris Godwin, I think he's a very important piece when you look at his tape. I mean, the guy just finds ways to get open. He was utilized in numerous of ways, whether that's just being a target over the middle of the field. He's a great blocker. He just does everything right. He can attack, the outside. He can attack from the slot. Just do different things that really you don't notice, but at the same time, he comes up with those big plays when you need him the most, and his ability to make plays like this after the catch. So super impressive receiver, 29 years old, but I think you still feel confident that he's going to come back stronger and be even better than he has been. And I think they have that trust with him, just like they trust Mike Evans. Like, you want to continue to build around that and, continue to develop Jalen McMillan as well. And don't force him into a role that he might not be ready for. So I think you got to continue to build that depth, and they want to continue to add pieces there so they're ready for that time when it's time to move on from Mike Evans, time to move on from Chris. But I think they want to try to slow play that as long as they can, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, but that's always the devil's advocate, right? Like, look what McMillan did last year. That was his rookie season. Look at the end of the year, how he literally had touchdown after touchdown after touchdown.
Right.
He was having his best games at the most crucial times. I mean, yeah, I can understand it, but still, you have a guy that wants to be here. You've Jason Licht signs guys that he drafts. That's just what Jason Licht does. When he trusts his guy, he wants to keep him here. So the devil's advocate of it, I can see why, based off of injuries. You have a guy that can become something, but Chris Godwin just does, like you said, so damn much at the line, blocking, quick screen game. Jalen McMillan can't do that. Let's just be honest. That's not in his game just yet. He needs to put up some weight first before that ever gets in his game, right? Like,
Yeah.
Chris Godwin is like a running back / receiver. He can do so much for your offense. And yeah, like the combination of him and Mike Evans makes so many things easier for everyone behind them and inside of the ball. So you want to bring him back. Let's just put it that way. You just want to bring him
Mhm.
back. Another devil's advocate is that McMillan is getting better, but like you said, slow play that.
Yeah, for sure. I want to get to some comments before we continue on. Good comment here by Bud Cannabis. He talks about how Jonathan Allen from Washington was almost packaged in the Debo trade, but 49ers didn't want to absorb his full contract. Definitely a higher price than Khalil Mack. So that's very interesting. I think Jonathan Allen most likely gets released, but we'll see what happens there. Good stuff here from Steven. He asks, would the Bucs trade for Leonard Floyd? He's about to be 33 from San Francisco. And we play them this season. San Fran would take a 7th for him. I don't know. What do you think of Leonard Floyd? I think if they're looking to move anybody, again, it's a lot of these guys are just going to get cut. So I think you have the opportunity to sign them, but also if you do trade for them, you avoid that bidding type of war that you probably want to not get involved with.
I mean, Leonard Floyd, he's a longer, lankier guy.
Yeah.
He's not the size that Yaya Diaby is. I keep going to this thing of like the mold of player that the Buccaneers Todd Bowles defense looks for, especially for edge defenders. They want those bigger guys to hold the edge. And what did I say? Like a linebacker that can fly in the middle and hit those gaps. Leonard Floyd is more of a tall, skinny edge rush guy. I don't think necessarily he can hold it in his pants to hold the edge. And I don't think that's a good match for us. But and in the other respect, like a guy like Harold Landry, who is a true edge rusher, speed rusher.
Mm.
I mean, damn, that would be a hell of a get, but it's tough. I mean, because like look at the mold of Shaq Barrett. Like Shaq Barrett wasn't a speed rusher. He wasn't big. He's like an average dude in every respect: arm length, size, weight, speed. Everything was average, but his technique was phenomenal. Right.
Right.
So that's how you get that many numbers. Plus, you're being next to Vita Vea and Sue
Yeah.
kind of helped with that. But
Yep. For
hey,
sure.
I just think of let's fit the mold of what the hell we're looking for. Because look what Chris Braswell looks like Yaya Diaby. I think that's the mold they're looking for on their edge, and then they'll sprinkle something else in there.
Yeah. A lot of good comments here. Get to John V. He talks about bringing back Chris Godwin, Levante David. He talks about Khalil Mack. He's asking Shavarius Ward, maybe Paulson Adebo on bigger deals. Greenlaw Dotson on a prove it deal. Yeah, those are good points. I think we'll touch on those here in a little bit. Obviously on our channel, we talked about Shavarius Ward. We talked about Paulson Adebo as potential targets. Dre Greenlaw from San Francisco, another, target that I think the Bucs could have interest in. And then Tyrell Dotson, he's the linebacker from Miami, another good player that could be pretty cheap. So, yeah, I'm going to get to a couple more here. Another one by Steven talking about Donovan Ezeraku, New Jersey born, just like Coach. So, yeah, Donovan is definitely my favorite. I don't know if he's Mark's favorite, but he's my favorite in this draft. Really like him a lot. We put out a video about it. So, yeah, I think he's definitely in contention for that first round pick for sure.
Well, I mean, I compared him to Shaq Barrett, though. I mean, I'm more, I guess, physically gifted Shaq Barrett because this guy already has a developed pass rush plan and attack. Like even during his interviews, he's like, "No, I'm planning. That's how I set up my ghost move. I'm going inside, then I'm going outside. I'm doing certain things to set up what I want to do eventually." That's usually guys coming in the league don't do that. They just do one good thing very well, which is speed or power. They don't have everything. Like this guy has a little bit of everything to go with it. Plus, he put up numbers. So I don't see why he's not being rated higher, considering how clean of a season he did have. So let's see. And yeah, Todd Bowles liking New Jersey players. I wouldn't mind it either.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and we'll touch on another New Jersey player here in a little bit, the linebacker from Alabama, Jahad Campbell. But let's get into, before we get into all those, let's get into Khalil Mack, because he has been the topic of discussion here early.
And it was heated in the comments section on that last video you did too.
So
it was so for and against. So like I guess anyone in the chat, are you for the Khalil Mack? Looks like a lot of people are saying sign Mack. Are you for signing Mack, or are you against signing Mack? And then why? Give me the justification. Because we're going to go over it, but I want to hear what you guys think too.
Yeah, the video did well. A lot of conversation, a lot of comments. It was very what's the word I'm looking for? Polarizing.
Polarizing, yeah.
Yeah, polarizing for sure. Because people were like, he's too damn old. he's just old. Like, why are we going after? Yeah, waste of money. Can't play anymore. But yeah, Khalil Mack, 2014 draft. He was the Mike Evans draft as well. Picked 5th overall for Oakland. Six sacks last year. And when you look at his numbers, I'll pull up his full stats here. The guy's just productive. I mean, anywhere he's gone, he's put up numbers. Oakland, he did very well. Multiple seasons with double-digit sacks. Goes to Chicago, does pretty well there as well. And then for Los Angeles, he's put up pretty good numbers. I mean, 8 sacks in his first year, 17 in that 2023 season. And then, this past year, not as much, but I think there's a good point to be made. And Mark, I'll let you start here, but my point is, like, Joey Bosa wasn't healthy last year, and I think that affected his sack totals. Like, I don't think he's a guy that you want to lean on. He's a guy that you want to just continue to add to. And I think you made a good point of that yesterday, kind of referencing Moneyball and how it's important. We just want who you are right now to just add to the room.
Yeah, I mean, he's a productive player, like you just said. Like, it's not like he's getting a 0.5 sack, 1 sack. It's not like teams don't think about him when he's on the field. No, they do. They still understand the player that he was and is capable of, right? He's 1 year removed from a 17 sack season. Like, that's high praise. When was the last time you could say that for a Buccaneer besides Shaq Barrett? Like, it's been a long time. So very ultra productive, and then you're not asking him to be the savior. Like, if you're looking for the trade for Myles Garrett, you're giving up the house and you're expecting everything. If you can sign Khalil Mack, you can do like a 1 year deal, like we did with signing Ndamukong Suh. That's what I compared it to. Like a veteran that is a proven good player and is usually on the damn field. Scroll down, look at his career and games played. Sorry, right as you're about to take a sip.
No,
look at his. He's on the field. Besides that 1 year,
hasn't really missed games.
Right. So Ndamukong Suh was a ferocious player in his heyday. We got him near the end of the year or end of his career, and he still produced 6 sacks for us in 2 years.
Yeah.
2 back-to-back years, he had 6 sacks, and because he was part of the defense. It wasn't like he was the main man like he was in Miami, forced to be. If you're Khalil Mack's here, you're just having him get guys off of Vita Vea, Elijah Cansey, and hopefully Yaya Diaby, because even Jason Licht said it. He's like, I think Yaya's going to take that step, and then if you can slowly get Chris Braswell in there too, like it could eventually take over, if anything, right? So I mean, I think it's just a huge veteran signing, like I was saying with the Moneyball reference. Talk to the young guys, tell them what to do, right? But also when we need you, and you know how to win with your speed or veteran savvy, get the hell in there. Look what the Rams did when they traded for Von Miller. That was their championship move, right? So this isn't really necessarily a championship trade. It's more we're adding to this defensive things that we haven't had in a while, which is an edge rush. And then that sets us up for, what do you say, middle linebacker in the draft? I've been saying it how many damn times? Like, that's the biggest need. The middle of the damn field. Give me a guy that can A-gap blitz and can cover someone. So let's see. right? It would be to me a smart move, but yeah, money. Does he want to be here? He got his ass whooped last year at home against Baker Mayfield and this Bucs offense and just total domination. So
Yeah.
let's see.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at Khalil Mack again, he still has plenty of ability to make plays in the backfield. The burst obviously is still there. The motor, we just don't have guys like this that can win one-on-one or at least give you a threat consistently. And like Mark said, what he will do is he will draw attention and he will take things off of Yaya Diaby to allow him to flourish and be more productive when it comes to getting into the backfield. Because with a Khalil Mack out there on the edge, these offensive linemen, they have to account for him just based on what he's done in this league. Like, you can't go into the game and, okay, I'm just going to go 1v1 versus him all the time. He's going to figure it out. He's going to find a way to affect the quarterback. So I think for getting him on a 1, maybe 2-year deal, like you said, the value has to be right. And I think the Buccaneers can make a competitive offer for sure. And let's put it out there, like, being interested. Yeah, they're going to be interested in certain guys that become free agents. That doesn't mean it's an automatic given that they sign this guy. But it is cool to see like that they are talking about this and looking at a direction that does make sense. And they are being aggressive as far as going after what their issues are. And that's getting after the quarterback. I mean, Todd Bowles says it right here, and we can listen to it right now.
We got to do a better job rushing 4. We can get pass rush with pressure, but you don't want to pressure all the time. I think we got to do a better job with 4.
I mean, there you go. I mean, that's point blank. I think they understand what their weaknesses are. So I was very encouraged with that. I think that is great news to see. And yeah, I mean, they have the right plan right now.
Yeah, I mean, and look at the 4 they had in the Super Bowl win. Shaq Barrett, Vita Vea, and Ndamukong and JPP. That was a formidable veteran line, right? Yeah. And I keep comparing Sue to Khalil Mack. Yes, it's a veteran and a guy that was very much a consistent player. Add that to the mix, right? And like, think about it. You're canceling out JTS and Anthony Nelson. Every year you try and look to upgrade every room. I think that's an upgrade. Yeah, you don't get younger,
right?
But still, like, it's still an upgrade. You got to find, like they used to say, behind door number 2, right? Like, because JTS and Anthony Nelson, does that equate to what Khalil Mack production can give you? Some would say, because like some people hate both of them, right? So yeah, a down year with 6 sacks. Well, what did Yaya get this year?
Yeah, Yaya had 4.5 sacks, 7.5 his first year. So a little dip in sack production, but he was much better in quarterback pressures, quarterback hits, all the the key factors that you look for. This is a big number that I look at, the 32 forced fumbles. That is something that Todd Bowles also talked about, generating ball production, whether that's sack fumbles, interceptions, batted passes. So I think that's important. I mean, that's another thing that Khalil Mack does. I mean, look at the pass breakups that he has. I mean, 10 in 2023, he had 9 this past year. So if he's not getting to the quarterback, he's finding ways to affect the play. That's important. I mean, that's it's funny because that's way more than most of our corners got, our secondary players. I mean, Zion McCollum had 17, which is great, but I think the next one was what, Mark? It was 7, I think, in pass breakups, like the next guy down the list. So yeah, it's crazy.
I think it was Tyke Smith too, and he missed a lot of games, which is wild.
Yeah. Hey, Corey Hall, good to see you. Make sure you hit that notification bell. I don't know why it's not giving you a notification, but it should. If you are subscribed, just make sure you turn on that notification bell, and it should give you. It should pop up, and usually it pops up in your phone. It'll give you a link, and you can go right to it. So.
No, but YouTube gets that way. Like you got to turn it off and turn it back on. Like I've had that happen before.
Gotcha.
It's
a little tricky. But yeah, just keep messing with it. It should work. Usually if you're following us on X, I don't know if you guys are all on Twitter, but usually post something on there, just to let you guys know. But we try to be live usually every other Monday, especially in the off season. But once we get in season, it's usually more of a regular thing.
Touche.
Yeah. Steven, Mike Green, or Donovan E. Yeah, I think Ezeraku does make a lot of sense. I'm not sure about Mike Green. I think they are a little weary about just the reports that have come out on him, as far as the off the field stuff. So we'll see on that. Same thing with James Pierce. I know a lot of people like James Pierce, but some of his character comes into question. It's more of a work ethic type thing. So that's something to look out for.
Yeah, since we're on the topic, let's just talk about Jason Licht and what he was mentioning with as rushers, because everyone's like, hell, we need one. Why aren't we getting one? So let's address what he said about it over there. Bring that up too.
Okay.
There we go. All right, Jason. Hit it.
Get enough respect. Where do you stand on the edge rusher situation with the team, and how do you feel about that?
Always looking for edge rusher, despite what you guys say. I think it's Lee that thinks that we don't value edge rushers. It's not the case at all. Otherwise, we wouldn't have traded for JPP and we wouldn't have paid Shaq. And
you're right.
So we're always looking. It's not always as easy as you think. You've got to. For everyone that makes it, there's 3 that don't, and you want to make sure you're getting the right one. And throwing money, huge money, isn't always the answer. Can hurt you in other ways. People talk about wanting a certain player that we should trade the farm for, and it's going to be the answer. But why wasn't he the answer for the team that he was on? So, you got to. I'm not talking about one particular player.
Sure.
So, but we're always looking for it. I will say that I am excited about Yaya. I think Yaya quietly was one of the better edge players in terms of his pressures and hurries. And I know that you don't like to hear that. You want to hear sack production, but I think he was just almost there, and he's going to get there next year. I'm really excited about Braswell for his second year. I think he's going to shock a lot of people, just knowing the kind of person he is and the talent that he has. And we'll look in all avenues for edge rush. We do need some depth there. We do need some help.
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely. I think he said it well, and that was from the Joe Bucs Fan podcast. So be sure to check that out. They talked with Jason Licht and Todd Bowles last week, I believe. So they have that up on their. You can find it at Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. It's up there on their page. So. Yeah, a lot was said there, and I think he said it very well. Like, they're going to attack all avenues to upgrade this edge rush, but also he's giving confidence to Yaya, to Chris Braswell. They expect them to take another step forward. So adding a guy like Khalil Mack, that could definitely bring those guys forward and bring them along, because you're adding someone who knows how to do it and just provide that experience and make the room have a higher floor. Like, if those guys come out, you have Khalil Mack to go add to the mix. And I think that's huge. And if you draft another edge rusher, which they probably will, then you have a really good foursome that you can, use and rotate.
Yeah, there was a lot to unpack on that though. So like, it's kind of like you got to read between the lines kind of thing, because they can't mention names, right?
Right.
He goes, yeah, there's a guy that you guys want us to trade for, and you think he'd just trade the house and he's going to fix it. But did he fix it for his old team? We all know who that guy was. It's Myles Garrett, right? Understandably so. You can't just trade everything for one guy and expect it to be the savior. But then again, if it's the only one piece you need, I almost think it's justifiable, because he was like, oh, the other team didn't really get it with him. Well, the other team's trash. They look like shit. They're called the Browns. Yeah. So, I mean, there's nothing going right. Their QB situation, their O-line was not bad, but the running back got hurt. Their defense was that one guy that they centered around. They're fly around, but there's just so much bad around that organization. How are they expected to do good? I think so. I think there's a big difference between situational edge rusher in one spot as opposed to another one. Then he also mentioned Chris Braswell. When he mentioned him, he didn't necessarily say the player first. He said the person, which brings me to what you were saying again with Mike Green and his off the field reports.
Right.
That's the Buccaneer way. They're looking for the Buccaneer man, the Levante Davids, that will bring that same culture to this team of football first, winning first. Like we want diehards, hustle guys. And if a guy's got issues off the field, you're not all ball, right? So that brings a red flag and says, okay, maybe we're not going to fully look into this guy because of that. But then he also said we're going to bring depth, and he didn't mention Anthony Nelson or JTS. Was it because of just contract stuff? You don't want to mention bringing him back or anything? Maybe they just didn't ask him it. But like those are things I'm like, okay, well, you mentioned 2 guys on the roster. I understand it. You talked about really wanting to bring back Chris Godwin, but you didn't really mention those 2. So, but you did mention about bringing back depth. Is it a veteran? Is it draft? We're going to find out.
Yeah, for sure. I think all those are good points. And Corey Hall, brings up Myles Garrett. I think we would all want to trade for Myles Garrett. I think Jason Light would love to pull it off, but at the same time, it takes 2 to tango. It takes 2 to tango in a trade, and Cleveland right now I think is playing. They're trying to salvage anything they can with Myles Garrett, and I think at some point they're going to get to understanding that Myles just doesn't want to be there anymore. And you have to find a way to get as much as you can back in return to set yourself up for that next phase, which is a complete total rebuild where it's going to set you back probably 3 to 5 years. And that I think is something they're just playing stubborn right now and they're not willing to accept. But I think Jason also talked about just you have to be smart about how you go about those types of moves, because if it doesn't pan out, it can set you back, and it can set you back as far as cap space. It can set you back in terms of draft picks. And so I understand where he's coming from. You want to have that eye on the future, but also make the best move for the current team and current, present. So all that plays a part. That's why I feel like you go out in free agency, maybe you can get a Khalil Mack, and then you draft, on top of that. And we've seen him do that before where he's signed corners, drafted a corner. We've seen him, sign edge players and then draft an edge player. So all those things can definitely take place, this offseason.
Yeah, but it is telling that we're looking at all avenues for an edge rusher, right? It's the news of Mack. Clearly we're probably looking at trades. There's guys available. Even though teams don't want to give them away, there's the player themselves are saying, no, I'm available. So, I mean, which door is the one that they want the most, right? I mean, either way, they're setting themselves up for the draft, I still feel. And that's the thing. If you do sign a Khalil Mack, your whole draft is still there.
Yeah.
I guarantee that's probably where Jason's more leaning to, as opposed to, holy hell, the Browns are asking for 2 first-round picks. Should I do it and mortgage it? Do I think it's just that one player? Because we both know, like, middle linebacker is a glaring hole, but also Jamel Dean. Do you really want to stick with him for another year where he's probably going to get hurt and miss 4 to 5 games again? Right? So do you need a corner first round? Do you need a middle linebacker first round? They were talking 2 bigger needs. Those are right. So we clearly saw the deficit of this defense. You may need those draft picks. So is Myles Garrett truly going to clear the void of a middle linebacker and a corner that couldn't cover? I don't know.
Yeah, and they talked about Jamel Dean, and it sounded like it sounded just as Jordan Whitehead, and we haven't talked about that, but Jordan Whitehead was let go. Obviously moving on from him just due to his car accident. And, that made sense. They saved money, 4.5 million in cap space. Jamel Dean, I think most likely is going to follow suit. I think they're trying to go through those scenarios right now as they get closer to free agency, and probably will, let him go. It will probably come like March 10th once they start talking to these free agents and see, can they get a award, or can they get a Paulson Adebo or someone in place to take his spot, because you don't want to cut him without having that replacement in your back pocket. So I think that's what they're waiting on with Jamel.
And I think you like you just said, though, you weigh your options come free agency. It's a business, yes, but like you got to also think like Jamel Dean is hurt every year.
Yeah.
I mean, like I just mentioned with Khalil Mack, he's going against tackles that are way bigger than him every year, but he's usually consistently on the field. Same thing with Ndamukong Suh. These guys stay on the field. You got to be able to earn your check when you're out there. Like, yes, he's good when he plays. Sometimes he plays like so fragile, and once he gets hurt, it's like the rest of the year he's playing that way. So it's frustrating. And I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised, put it that way, if he's another cap casualty or just a cut prior to free agency.
Right, exactly. And I think, with him, I think it makes a lot of sense to move on. It's just because, like they talked about, they want ball hawks, they want guys that can make plays. So I wouldn't be shocked if corner, safety, that's going to be one of their areas of target in free agency, whether that's a value free agent or getting one of these big names and adding that to the roster. So I know the chat's going wild. They want Myles Garrett. We all want Myles Garrett. We all want Trey Hendrickson. That's another one that could be available. We'll see what the Bengals do. They're trying to get their star players back. Trey Hendrickson might not cost you a first round pick, so maybe that's a little bit more feasible. Do they wait and see on Harold Landry or Jonathan Allen if they get cut and released? Do you sign them as free agents? Those are some options to weigh.
I was also laughing. Leroy Williams saying you could sign a second or third team cornerback from any other team. He'll be better than Dean.
Yeah. I mean, Dean's struggled, man. I think his body has got to a point where it's worn down. He's just not able to make the plays that he wants. So,
hey, I mean, but like that you got to put some weight to that. Like guys like Devontae David, they stay on the field all the time. Like Khalil Mack stays on the field a lot.
Yeah.
Ndamukong Suh stays on the field a lot. Kate Otten prior to last year stays on the field a lot. Like I value players that give you their all, but they also stay on the field. That is an ability you got to have. And that's where making this profession, it's your job. It's not just a game. So
I mean, that's what I talk about a lot with Servassier Dennis. Like he's entering his third year. He hasn't been able to stay healthy, so this is his time to take that next step and find a way to be on the field so he can get more of a prominent role in the defense. And let's kind of shift gears. I know the scouting combine took place this past weekend, and it was a lot of fun to watch. I dove in mostly to the defensive players, and I want to bring up obviously one of my favorites, probably my favorite in this class. Well, not that. That was great. Donovan Ezeraku, big fan of his game. Been talking a lot about him, and I thought he had a great combine. Comes in at 6'2", 248 pounds, 34-inch arms, which I think makes him very intriguing. And you look at his athletic scores, did pretty well, especially the 6.94, 3-cone drill, 4.19, 20-yard shuttle. And guess who had a very similar 20-yard shuttle? That would be Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack had a 4.18 20-yard shuttle. So, who maybe put them together and see what you got. But I really like this kid. I mean, you guys have seen it. You guys have seen the tape. We'll put it up here just so everyone can see it. But the guy's good. I mean, he just understands how to get after the quarterback. He has a very good pass rush plan, knows how to win with leverage, knows how to make body surface very small. For him, it's tough to block him. He knows how to win inside. There's just a lot to like here, Mark.
Yeah, but like if you want to really in depth, go watch the video.
Right. Absolutely.
It's just so creative how he went. And the motor's there, the length is there. Like my only critique was he didn't have elite get off speed or elite hustle to get after him after. I mean, he has hustle, don't get me wrong. It's just more, it's not elite, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, that's why I compared him to Shaq Barrett. Like he's just winning. He's consistently winning against the guy that's in front of him every damn time.
Right.
And he's winning in different ways. It's not just a one-trick pony. I mean, maybe people get worried, oh, maybe he's a high floor, low ceiling, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're going to give, oh, this is the best he's going to be. I mean, hell, people were probably saying that about Kalijah Cansey because he's small and no one's Aaron Donald. He ain't going to be good. He won in college. He's winning now. And I know it sometimes doesn't carry over. I mean, I think the most scary one was Vernon Golson from years back. He was amazing in college and then did jack shit in NFL. So
you're right. He had a great combine. I mean, super athletic.
But that's the thing. Like I think he was just a one-trick pony in Ohio State. This guy does everything, literally everything. So it's a safer pick in my opinion. And I don't know. I mean, if you can get a guy that can rush the edge at 19 there, and if you didn't sign Mack, or hell, even like you said, if you did sign Mack, why the hell not, right?
Yeah, I think this guy will, when I look at bring him back up on the screen, when you look at Ezraku, I think he's really intelligent at how he talks, and at the combine, just his understanding of the game was very impressive. So I think he's just a match. Like he's a good person off the field. He knows how to play. He's got the tape to back it up. And that's something that the Bucs like to draft. Like they want guys that, show that functional athleticism, show high character, and do the right things on the field. Another guy that I think they would be considering, this guy right here, Jahad Campbell, the linebacker out of Alabama. 6'3", 32.5-inch arms, 235 pounds, 10.5-inch hands. Like this guy is a specimen. Like he is super athletic. You can see with his 40-yard dash, 4.52, 1.53 10-yard split. So quick, 10-foot-7 broad jump. So he's just impressive. His tape, he shows that versatility. He can play linebacker. He can play edge if you need him. I think at linebacker, he's still learning the position. Like you can see, like his trouble is just IDing whether it's run or pass. Like sometimes there's a little hesitant play there. But he can run. He can cover. He can do what the Buccaneers need. And I think he would make a lot of sense at 19 as well.
So where I see him fitting best is if we do get it, Khalil Mack, right?
Right.
That would be setting up where this is probably the dude, or Chris Paul later, because we desperately need a linebacker.
Right.
And do they try and go, because he's probably the highest rated linebacker, but also there's scary things with him. He's like a 1-year starter.
Right.
Yes, they have plenty of talent at Alabama, so that's usually an argument you can give. But he was an edge rusher prior. They moved him to linebacker, like you just said. So he's hesitant because he's learning the position fully. I know there's some scouts are like, oh, no, he's going top 15 because he could drop back great. I'm like, have you seen how Chris Paul Jr. drops back? Like that man's fluid and natural. Like, yeah, but he's smaller. It just doesn't look as smooth with Jaleel Campbell.
Jihad,
But
Jihad Campbell. Yeah.
Jihad Campbell. But
Yep.
when you look at him, he looks like a clunky runner, and then he gets a 4.5 40, 1.53 freaking 10-yard split, which is insanity.
Yeah.
The 10.5-inch hands. You could use him as that true chess piece like JTS was supposed to be, where like if you have Mac, or you do sign Mac, or just in general, you just use him as like a fourth edge rusher, add him to the mix, and hopefully with Servassier staying healthy, could be that true drop back linebacker.
Mm.
And then you're interchanging things. Like you think he's coming in, but then he dropped back. That is a true chess piece. And where you can not force him to be just a coverage linebacker, you can have him doing the A-gap blitzes. You can have him edge rushing, have him do what he's naturally good at, and then gradually learn to be a good coverage guy. Because you don't want to throw too much on a rookie. Yeah, you got to have a plan for him. And I think Todd Bowles would have a plan for a guy like this that is literally like a molded monster that you can just send him out and hunt. And that's almost like what Devin White was when we first drafted him. It's just a freak athlete that you want to just send him. He just never matured and grew on top of that. It was just a guy that could get downhill real fast.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I think, like you said, he's that true joker type of player that you can play pretty much anywhere along the front seven. You add him to the mix pair him up with Levante David, who I think likely comes back. I know he's still making those decisions. Buccaneers have been having conversations, but you add Jihad Campbell with Levante, you have Servassier to kind of, all three of those guys can work together where it takes pressure off of Levante. Levante doesn't have to pass rush as much as he did last year. And you can use both Servassier and Jihad as the true blitzing linebackers that you want to create that middle pressure, to create, more opportunities for turnovers and negative plays. I think that would make a lot of sense. And we've all seen like even it's funny when I think about it, like we had questions about Tristan Wirfs, when we were watching him pre-draft, and we were talking about, well, we don't know. Like we were worried about his inside, as far as picking up inside stunts and inside pressures and stuff like that. There were some concerns there. But when we really break down the tape, we're like, man, this guy has everything you need to be a great offensive lineman. And obviously he's proven that and make us look dumb, but he did it. And I think with Jihad, like he has all the tools. Like there's really nothing he can't do. So I think if you get him in a lab and coach him up a little bit, him learn the position, he could be a special player for you.
And it's, again, we got to look at the person always,
right.
too. Like he himself is like, I just want to be a guy that just goes out there and attacks. Like I just want to be good at everything he does. And the hands on that man, banana hands, bro. Like 10.5, like that's lineman type of hands. But he can drop back too. I just think scenario wise, you just got to think about it. If they truly are invested into trying to get Mac, it would almost make complete sense. But if you don't get Mac, that's where Donovan likely goes in there. Because if you sign Mac, think about it. You'd have Chris Braswell, who you just drafted second round, who he's just saying we're thinking about he's going to be something this year. Yaya Diaby. So he'd be like the fourth guy. Khalil Mack wouldn't be Randy Gregory from last year. There's a guy that's up numbers and would want to stay in the field. And you're getting big money too if you do. I mean, but those two players are probably really high. Like they're already high on our board. You're hoping they're high on the Bucs board.
Yeah, I think, definitely favorites of ours. If it's me, personally, but I'm just thinking of how the Bucs will think. Same like you. We're looking at this like, last year, what did we need the most? That was center, and we drafted Grant Barton, so we improved there. You look at it this offseason, I think the focus, I think, is clear. Like they have to find ways to improve that pass rush. And how do you do that? You add guys like either Donovan Ezraku or you add a guy like Jahad Campbell that can give you all of that. Like both of those guys can add to the pass rush first and foremost, whether it's through blitzing or just coming off the edge, they can do it. So I think that puts them, high on their target board for sure. Me, I would love to trade down. I would love to get more picks. I would love to draft Malachi Starks. Like that's another favorite of mine because you add Starks, you reunite Tyke Smith with his former college buddy, and you put them with Antoine Winfield, your secondary just goes through the roof.
Because now that's a glaring hole. I mean,
Right.
Who's next to Winfield right now? I mean,
Right now, it's going to be Tyke. Like Tyke is going to be your safety,
and that's what the assumption is. They're like, oh, we're going to put him out there. Well, like, so that's saying that you're going to put Tyke at safety and then count Christian Izien as your nickel corner.
potentially. Yeah.
Right. So, like, I mean, I don't know. Like, so losing Jordan Whitehead makes that hole at safety that much bigger. So, do they truly want a guy like Malachi Starks? Now, talk about a guy that's a leader too, from starting from a freshman in the Georgia scheme. If he's anything like Tyke Smith, Todd Bowles is salivating over him, right? And when you look him up, all you hear is good things. How he was a leader when he first got on there. So it's like, as a Buccaneer man, that's usually what we're looking for. Like I remember from years past, everyone's like, we just keep getting team captains. We're trying to build a culture, and look what happened.
Yeah. I mean, again, I could see scenarios where maybe they trade down and maybe they still take Donovan Ezeraku. Maybe they look at Savone Revel from East Carolina if they trade down. The corner, big, long, fast, super athletic, can do pretty much everything as what you want from a cornerback. So those are options. I mean, right now I feel like they're in a good spot. We'll see how it plays out. But overall, I think you have to feel pretty good about what we've been hearing so far. Let's see if they can execute on that. That's going to be important, and we'll find out. I mean, next week, and we'll have to go live again next Monday and see what's happening for sure, and talk it with all you guys. And I'm sure there will be people flipping out, people being negative. It's always fun.
Well, bring up what Leroy just said. Well, why are people down on Izzy? The kid is a baller. So I've said this on prior live streams too. Like Leroy's right. Like Todd Bowles, when they asked him who's your biggest like guy that made improvements, he said Christian Izien. It was like he was holding down the fort for us before he got injured.
Yeah.
I mean, he was damn good as a rookie, an undrafted rookie, converting to a nickel corner. And then last year they asked him to play outside. They asked him to play safety. They asked him to play nickel. He was all over the damn place. And then he got hurt. So we got hurt everywhere last year. So, I mean, the guy was consistent when he was on the field. He may have not have had the interceptions he had in his first year, but still, like, he was making plays quick to the ball. He's damn 5'8", slamming people in the face. Like he's I think he's a good enough nickel corner, but he's an interchangeable piece. That's one thing we're getting excited about when we got Jordan Whitehead, because we can move Izzy around like that.
Yeah.
That, again, we need a safety. Do you draft a guy like that can fill that void? But it's still like there's still two glaring holes to me: linebacker, now it's safety. You need a corner. So I mean, that it's starting to add up now with the possibilities of where it could go.
Yeah, I can see it going multiple ways. Like we said, obviously there's two favorites that we talked about potentially. There's also that value that you look in rounds 2, 3, and 4, where you can add linebacker, you could add corner, you can add, safety, you can, add to your offensive line if you want to. Like there's all avenues to be explored there. You could add a receiver. So I think that's why I'm like kind of leaning, maybe they trade down and try to get picks, but it takes two to tango. So that's not always the best, available option. And when you look at these two guys, I think either one of them, helps you fill that void of what you need the most, and that is finding ways to affect the quarterback in one way or another, for sure.
Yeah, and like I've said this before too. Like I see linebackers almost like the running back position of the defense. Like they're going to hit holes real fast.
Yeah.
They're bound to get hurt because they're flying inside, right, against the big boys. But you're asking them to go sideline to sideline. I'm just looking for a guy that can hit a hole with some speed, like a Quan Alexander. We got him in the 4th round. Servassier Dennis, what was he, a 5th round pick?
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, you can get guys like that. We just need to get them healthy, right? So I mean, I only say linebacker 1st round because it's one of our biggest needs, and literally that's how we've set this draft up almost every year, it seems.
Mhm.
So that maybe they're trying to get the best one. That is my assumption. Could it be they do like a guy later in the draft? Cool. But I'm looking for the best player possible, not just the biggest need.
Mm.
Because
Yeah.
we got clearly the needs are on defense. Let's just hopefully this first pick is on defense.
Yeah. Yeah, this is great. Britt is an angry fullback.
Yeah. Yeah. They run
Classic.
into things, but not run through them. Oh, but
Classic.
Raymond Fuse bring up his comment.
Yeah, the safety from South Carolina. So he's talking about Nick Amawori. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but yeah, Amawori was quite the athlete. Did ridiculous things at the combine. I think he was 4.4 speed. Jumped insane, and like he was everywhere. Let me see if I can pull up his combine. But yeah, he's someone that we will definitely try to watch and get on the channel for sure. Break his tape down, but he has all the things you want: the size and the athleticism for sure. At 6'3", 220. Here, I got it right here.
Oh yeah, it's disgusting.
Let's see. There we go. But yeah, I mean, the dude is he's built different for sure. And you look at his numbers, 4.38, excuse me, 1.49, 43 vertical, 11.6 broad. Like, I know there's been comparisons already to Obi Melifanu.
Yeah.
But I think this guy's tape's a little bit better. He understands like the position. He knows how to come downhill, knows how to, anticipate and get interceptions as well. But we'll definitely try to bring him up on the channel and break down his tape for sure.
Yeah, and getting comparisons to Derwin James, like that's pretty high praise. But then again, the year we drafted Derwin James, I was happy we got Jordan Whitehead. So
yeah,
this guy. I mean, just quick look, 88 tackles last year, 4 interceptions, 2 interceptions for a touchdown.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Pretty good. The thing is with him, I just don't like you take him round 1 or you probably don't get him in round 2. I just feel like he'll go pretty early, like probably late 1st round, early 2nd round is probably where he ends up going just because of that athleticism. But we'll see. Definitely intriguing. There's a lot of comments about waiting on linebacker. I like this one with John V talking about Chris Paul Jr. That's definitely one of our favorites. Carson Schlesinger, we talked about him.
Yeah, so say you do swing and miss at Khalil Mack, I would 100% be in the group of getting Donovan 1st round, and if you can get a Chris Paul Jr. in a 2nd, that to me already is a home run draft. Like you just filled 2 big needs, bang bang, and if you can get another safety in the 3rd, holy hell, let's go. Because like I know they're looking at a lot of receivers. I know I'm just sprinkling this in at the end in there, but I think it's just more for day 3. I don't necessarily, or maybe it is true that they're contemplating, Chris Godwin, that injury. I don't know.
Right.
But I mean, there's a whole lot of scenarios. It's a lot of talk right now, a lot of drama. Like we mentioned at the beginning of the show. It's fun. It's a fun show to watch. This is our drama-filled show. It's like, well, my wife watches the damn 90 Day Fiance, all that shit. Love is Blind, whatever it is.
I I tried to watch that show one time, 90 Day Fiance. I was like, what? I'm like, what has TV gotten to? Like, it's crazy what people find interest in. And what's the other one you talked about? Love is Blind. Like, isn't there another one like Love Island or something?
They're all just dumb shit.
Yeah.
It's like you try and reason. I'm like, what do they talk? What?
Right.
Just shut up. Like, what are we talking about? Like, why do you watch this shit?
Yeah. Buccaneer Bruce says it best. Trash shows.
I don't. I sit there like a drone, and I want to make comments, but I'm like, I'm just gonna start an argument. I'm gonna just leave it alone.
Mhm. Yeah. Does Nicole watch this one? I haven't even heard of that one.
Wolf Manor.
I don't know.
I don't know if that's a show. Is that a rated R show? Oh shit! Damn.
Yeah.
Is that HBO?
I don't know. It's funny. Hopefully you guys all watched Cobra Kai. Like, that was a great ending.
Oh, hell yeah.
Great ending to 6 seasons, and I'm sad that it's gone. But Fukuwab also brought up a great point. Maybe this will be the topic next week. We do need a punter. So that will be something to watch. Something to watch for.
I mean, we've drafted one before.
Yep.
It worked good for one year.
Oh man, that still hurts my heart. I was so in on Camarda. I thought he was off to a legendary start.
Right?
It
Like, how do you fall off a cliff that bad?
Just went bad. It was kind of like I don't know. It's like the whole Matt Gay thing. Like, he started off bad, it goes to another team, and then it ends up being really good. So, well, anyway, guys, I appreciate everyone in here. Appreciate all the comments. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new here. Leave us comments if there's something that we missed you want us to talk about for next time. Feel free to leave it in there. And yeah, this is going to be a wild off season. It's going to be a lot of fun. We got free agency starting next week, which is crazy. And we'll be right here talking about it for sure. I guarantee it. So with that said, everyone have a great week. Go Bucs, and we'll see you on the next one.